What if Donald Trump is re-elected as the President of the United States in 2020? If someone had told the world a time would come when the news of the US presidential election would not be trending on every major news outlet, as it usually is, we all would have thought such a person was crazy. It's the presidential election of the United States of America, for God's sake, not the class president election. But sadly, the coronavirus happened. We are just 3 months away from the US presidential election, yet the impact of the coronavirus continues to unfold. And to be honest, a lot of people aren't really as keen on who sits in the Oval Office next, as much as they're craving to crash the gate at the first post-lockdown jazz festival. Staying a very long time at home can take its toll on you. For instance, you might forget how to do basic stuff, like read a calendar or check the time. Why? Because every day is every day. But enough whining about the lockdown. Unless otherwise stated, the US presidential election holds in November as earlier announced, and considering how fairly favorable the last few months have been, we cannot help but wonder, what if Donald Trump gets re-elected as the President of the United States of America? Or let's back up a little. Does Donald Trump have a chance at being re-elected as the President of the US? That's what we'd be sharing in today's video. Hey guys, welcome to Information Forge, where we bring you the juiciest content. It's competition time. Grab a chance at winning a new phone by Information Forge. Subscribe to this YouTube channel, hit the notification bell, like our videos, comment on our videos, and share our videos on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, and other social media platforms. Increase your chances of winning by watching as many videos on our channel as you can. Winners would be announced at the end of the month. Good luck and enjoy watching the videos. The journey so far. The 2020 presidential election journey has been one of the most interesting that the nation has ever seen. For the first time in forever, we've had the Democrats present the youngest presidential candidate, a massive number of female candidates, and even a gay presidential candidate. And really, this is what starting off on the right foot means. There were over 1,200 candidates who filed with the FEC declaring that they are candidates. However, very few have actually made the effort to get their names on the ballot anywhere. But there are a few names that might ring a bell. While names like Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders might resound more, others like Elizabeth Warren, Mike Bloomberg, Amy Klobuchar, and Pete Buttigieg have been more prominent forces in the presidential journey. However, it seems Joe Biden is the chosen one for the House of Democrats. As set, the former vice president and former senator would be going head-to-head with the Republican candidate and current president of the USA, Donald Trump, on the 3rd of November 2020. So, we have ourselves a Trump-Biden matchup. While a lot of people really want to see Trump out of the White House, we cannot deny the fact that he still has the support of quite a number of factions. So, to the next question, can Trump beat Biden? The campaign crisis. Apart from starting his re-election plans unusually early, there are several other reasons why the Trump 2020 presidential campaign isn't really going as planned. President Donald Trump, who took the office after Barack Obama on the 20th of January 2017, officially filed his campaign for the 2020 elections in the Federal Election Commission on the same day he got into the Oval Office. For someone who isn't familiar with his way around the White House yet, he sure was keen about staying much longer. What if there were leaks? Or fancy toilets that are just too fancy they become complex to use? What am I saying? It's the White House we're talking about. Anyways, Republicans are getting pretty desperate about the state of President Trump's re-election campaign. And really, you can't blame them. It isn't just that the polls showed Trump trailing Biden by about 10 points. It's also that the campaign itself is an absolute mess. Look no further than the fact that Jared Kushner, who is still fresh from failing to achieve peace in the Middle East, manage the coronavirus response, reinvent government, or solve the opioid crisis, all tasks his father-in-law assigned him, has now asserted further control in the campaign, according to Politico. If you're a Republican, does that make you feel better? What's more disturbing is the inability of Trump's aides to tell him the truth about how poorly he's doing. Advisors and allies say the president's repeated acts of self-destruction have significantly damaged his re-election prospects, and yet he appears mostly unable or unwilling to curtail them. But the president has told advisors that no matter what he does, he cannot get good stories from the news media. People familiar with the conversation say. In a recent meeting with his top political advisors, President Trump was impatient as they warned him that he was on a path to defeat in November if he continued his incendiary behavior in public and on Twitter. Days earlier, Mr. Trump sparked alarm by responding to protests over police brutality with a threat that, when the looting starts, the shooting starts. Ouch, that's a bad one. When confronted, the good president simply replied that, "I have to be myself." We get it, but you're the president. Never mind, he can't hear me. Or can he? The New York Times describes the attempt to curb the president as frenetic and often fruitless attempts by the top Republicans to soothe the president and steer him away from self-sabotage, while also manipulating him to serve their own purposes. It's so bad that aides are afraid to tell Trump the truth about how poorly he's doing. What are the odds? Without mincing words, the past 3 months have been a catastrophe for President Trump, with the odds against his re-election lengthening and just less than 120 days until the election. The time to turn things around is dwindling. The president could still win a narrow victory, but only if everything breaks right. The president's job approval is the single most accurate measure of his political standing. As of April 1st, Trump's approval averaged 45.8%, about the share of the popular vote he received in 2016, and his disapproval, 49.7%, his best showing since the first month of his presidency. By June 26, his approval stood at 40.6%, down 5.2 points, while his disapproval rose by 6.4 points to 56.1% in 2020. This convergence has already occurred. As of June 26th, President Trump was averaging 41.4% of the vote in head-to-head contests with Joe Biden, just 0.8% higher than his job approval, and these numbers will be tightly linked between now and the election. If past is prologue, unless he can raise his job approval significantly during the next 4 months, he cannot win. Okay, enough statistics and numbers. Can President Trump extend his time in the White House? The answer is maybe. If you are under the age of 30, you would be forgiven in believing that, yes, as a rule, the person already inhabiting the White House is always the odds-on favorite to be elected to a second term. That's because all 3 presidents you can really remember, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, and Barack Obama, rather handily won re-election. But history proves that this is not always the case. Almost half of all the US presidents in history did not get a second term. Some were assassinated in office. Others were either impeached or indisposed for other reasons. But there is one thing that Trump can do to boost his chances of a re-election. And no, it's not a new haircut, neither is a staff shakeup, or to find some witty nickname for Biden. He simply has to confront the major crisis facing the country and do his job. Consider the next few tips President 101 material. The first step would be to admit how awfully he is handling the coronavirus pandemic. Many other countries already have the pandemic under control, but the United States has just recently hit the mark of about 50,000 new cases per day. Currently, about 126,000 American lives have been lost in the space of 3 months. This is getting worse. So instead of wishing that we would all wake up one day and find out that the coronavirus has vanished, Trump could make a fresh start in both his actions and his rhetoric. We could easily tweet, since that is his presidential means of communicating with the public. I thought that if I pretended that we had it under control and things were going great, people wouldn't realize how bad everything is, he could say. I was wrong. The Trump administration could also bring in people with actual expertise in public health and crisis management to run a national testing and tracing program, make sure personal protective equipment is available, and create uniform standards for both how to maximize safety and how to carefully resume normal activity. Next up, Trump could actively sensitize the public about taking the pandemic serious, beginning with himself. His actions should follow suit by wearing a face mask every time he is out or on camera. Fox and Friends host Steve Doocy commented on this a few days ago, saying, "I wish the president would put on a mask every once in a while, just because it would make him look as if he's taking it seriously." A final step that Trump can take towards redemption is alleviating the economic impact of the economic crisis in America. Forget the ridiculous cheerleading for the stock market and take active steps to wake us up from this economic nightmare. Paul Waldman, a columnist from the Washington Post, had this to say. That would mean extending enhanced unemployment benefits, giving state and local governments every dime they need so they can avoid the millions of layoffs that are coming if the federal government doesn't help them out, and giving Americans at least one more round of stimulus checks, if not more. If President Trump can get this done, he might just be able to save his face and job. And although we may not be exactly where we want to be, we sure would be on the right track heading towards a greater America. But knowing Trump, this might just be a fantasy, like Superman or vampires. If you like this video, please click the like button and subscribe to this channel. Also, turn on the post notification button for more amazing videos. See you in the next video.